hasn't got a chance. I call him.
The time is now 7 o'clock.
With the summertime temperatures rolling in, early morning and late nights offer a welcome respite, right? This is also alfresco season, the season of outdoor dining and cafes. In Korea, 포장마차, or those tented street stalls, are synonymous with outdoor dining, but many of these districts are apparently illegal. It is a dilemma as they are definitely popular tourist sites and different local governments are taking different approaches, looking for the ways of least resistance. I'm Catherine. This is Morning Wave in Busan on Tuesday, June 11th on befm, 부산영어방송. Good morning, Wavers. Oh, yesterday, I know that I read you the forecast. I knew it was going to be hot and a bit humid, but were you prepared? It was pretty hot yesterday. And the thing is, like, this time of year, there is really something about going outdoors, for dining this time of season, feeling kind of the warm breeze and seeing people walk by, even as you may be getting eaten by mosquitoes, those pesky critters that we've talked about. But, a lot of these venues are street carts or 포장마차, and they happen to be illegal. And there are disputes going on between these businesses and local governments on how to deal with them. We've already reported on Haeundae District planning on tearing down the street food tent zone with a deadline for voluntary demolition set for the end of this month. But according to a report by 국제신문, there are about 800 of these illegal outdoor restaurants or food carts here in Busan, with about half of them located in Junggu, home to Nampodong, followed by Gijang with 240 of such stalls. And many municipalities are taking more of a forceful approach, and the effects are varying. Sasang District conducted a forced demolition about 10 years ago for the illegal carts in front of the Sasang Intercity bus station, and they haven't had issues since then. But for Seogu, there is that area they call the Amnam Park Clam Grill carts, those stalls. Coincidentally, I went to actually Amnam Park 2 weekends ago. Yes. And anyhow, the district conducted a widespread crackdown against these stalls in 2016, but the locations are still operating as normal as the business association won a lawsuit filed against the district. And the thing is, many people don't realize that these structures are illegal and they've become kind of institutions in and of themselves. So we have to wonder if there are ways to include them legally because they are so popular, to regulate them. And of course, there's taxation issues and stuff like that. But is there any way to legalize, maybe not all, but at least some of them? Anyhow, food for thought, that is our main theme for today. Well, now we're going to turn to our text topic. It is hot. Can't deny it. Yesterday was definitely a hot one. But one of the things that makes summer bearable is food. Summer food. So let's share your favorite summer treats that help you stay cool. 자, 어제는 대구, 울산 등 올여름 첫 폭염주의보까지 내려졌다고 합니다. 본격적인 더위를 준비하면서 이 여름 이 음식이 없으면 안 된다. 분명히 있을 거예요. 나를 버티게 하는 여름 별미 음식 또는 음료 나눠보겠습니다. Who can I don't know. Are there people out there that don't like bingsu? Whether it's 팥빙수 or nowadays they have so many like fruit flavored or chocolatey bingsus. Definitely one of my go-to treats for summer. Let's hear your opinion on this. You can send in your messages to BFM's live stream live chat on YouTube. Pound 9050. That's going to cost you 101. You can also reach me for free on Kakao Talk. By the way, the various ways to listen to our program, the traditional 90.5 or 103.FM on the radio dial. Also, like I just mentioned, we are live streaming on YouTube right now. And sometimes I get comments like, oh, I didn't know you guys were on YouTube. Yes, we are. So you can watch us in real time. You can watch again on that same platform. We also have the Patpang app. Looking ahead to our Tuesday morning together, we have our daily lineup of Andrew with Sports Insider. We have Bonnie with The Health. For our special interview today, we're going to focus on a major election, India. Yes, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi officially elected for his third term. So what does this mean for this superpower, the most populous country on this earth? We're going to find out more about this in hour number 2. I'll be back with today's headlines. It is now 7:06. These are today's headlines. Opposition parties unilaterally pick 11 committee chairs. The main opposition Democratic Party, or DP, and minor parties yesterday voted to unilaterally select 11 parliamentary committee chiefs, with the ruling People Power Party boycotting the vote. Anti-corruption agency finds no law violation in First Lady's luxury bag scandal. The Anti-Corruption and Civil Rights Commission, the ACRC, has decided that it found no violations of the Anti-Graft Act surrounding the First Lady's luxury bag scandal. Yoon arrives in Turkmenistan for Central Asia state visit. President Yoon Suk-yeol and President Sardar Berdimuhamedov agreed to work closely together for the ROK Central Asia K-Silk Road strategy. South Korea forgoes loudspeaker propaganda yesterday. South Korea's military decided not to operate its propaganda loudspeakers on the North Korean border yesterday, a day after turning them on for the first time in 6 years. UN Security Council passes Gaza ceasefire resolution. The UN Security Council has adopted a U.S. proposed resolution endorsing a 3-part ceasefire plan aimed at ending Israel's war in Gaza. Ukraine strikes targets inside Russia for the first time. A military source said that a Russian command node was hit on Sunday local time in Belgorod near the Ukraine border for the first time in the war. And these are today's headlines. It is now time to check in with Haley for Busan Updates. Let's say hi to her first. Good morning.
Good morning.
Such a beautiful day, but yesterday it was definitely humid and hot.
Yeah, I mean, I was just noticing because the short sleeve season is on, just the color difference between my forearms and my upper arms. I'm like, where's sunscreen, people?
Yes. All right. Well, first we're going to get into our text topic because you and I both enjoy food.
I love food.
During summer, though, what is your go-to snack or food to kind of help you maintain or stay cool during summer?
Okay, I don't eat it often because, like sugar, calories, whatever, but mango bingsu, mango shaved ice. And I know I do not go to the crazy expensive 10몇만 원 hotels, but if you go to little cafes in Jeonpo or just like in the little pockets, they have it in the 20,000 won, 2만 원 range, which I mean, in this scene, it's still expensive, but it's reasonable compared to. And then you'll go online and you look at the hotel bingsus, which are like 13만 원, and you're like, this is a steal.
20,000 won, it's okay.
진주냉면 specifically.
Oh, 진주냉면.
Yes, because I mean there's a difference. 평양냉면, it's mostly made of buckwheat, and
Yes.
it has kind of the bland soup, the broth, and then 함흥냉면, it is starchier because it has
Yes.
starch in the noodles. But 진주냉면 has 육전, the beef pancakes, and
I'm getting
your
so
girl needs
hungry.
protein.
I know what
Yeah.
I'm having for lunch.
Oh my God, mouth
There's
is
a
watering.
place.
I mean, can we just shred everything and talk about food the entire time?
For 2 hours, I'm down for it
I
because...
can. Are we allowed to? No.
Yes, I know what I'm having for lunch. 밀면, there's a particular one that delivers. I can't say the brand name. Oh, so
And mandu. I'm sorry. We're really
I'm so
done now.
hungry.
We're done.
Okay. For now. All right, we're going to jump into our updates. With the weather warming up, local governments are getting ready for beach season. But, that also includes taking action against jellyfish, right?
I mean, if there are mosquitoes out of the water, there are jellyfish in there.
Yes.
The season is on. But the thing is, the season's getting longer and it's starting earlier because warming ocean temperatures. So according to the Oceans and Fisheries Ministry's 2024 jellyfish damage prevention measures, the jellyfish special report has been issued earlier than ever along the southern and the southwestern coast.
Right.
So the thing is, the jellyfish, they love warm weather, and because the warm weather also increases the production of plankton, their primary food source, they just have more to feed on.
Yes. And so how do these jellyfish affect people, though?
Well, number one, they sting.
Oh, yeah.
And people probably know someone who's been stung by jellyfish before. I have a friend whose husband got stung on their honeymoon. Yeah, yikes. So in the past 4 years, we have seen a rapid increase in the number of jellyfish stings because there were only about 100 reports back in 2019.
Right.
But then just go 1 year later in 2020, 680.
Wow.
Right.
That's
So,
a big
and
jump.
then there was a brief drop during the COVID years because people just were not in the water.
Right.
But last year, the city recorded over 450 cases.
Ooh.
So it also affects the fishing industry because they get tangled up in the fishing nets, and a school of jellyfish can apparently weigh up to 200 kilograms collectively.
Yes.
So because they're so heavy, they can either get tangled or tear the fishing nets, and then all the fish just fall through, or they can kill the fish that are caught in the net with them.
Right.
So municipalities are working to prevent jellyfish damage. With Seogu and Haeundae-gu districts, they're installing nets by the beach to block off the jellyfish. And Gijang County is actually buying the jellyfish from fishermen. So the city's marine department says that it'll conduct systematic monitoring to minimize the damage.
Right. And every time I think of jellyfish, I think of that one episode on Friends.
Oh, where
you
urinate on
yourself.
the leg. I hear that's not effective.
Right,
So
so-
maybe don't try.
Yes. All right. Next up, a group of para powerlifters have launched a protest calling on Busan City to come up with an alternate practice space for them. First, we need some
Right. So what is
explaining.
going on? Why
Yes.
does this? Why are they connected? So the city of Busan, they're redeveloping the yacht marina in
Right.
Suyang or on Suyang Harbor. But it happens to be also where the paralifters or para-powerlifters, those with disabilities, their training center is located.
I see. Okay.
Right. So the thing is, there isn't an alternate training site for these para-powerlifters, and around 50 to 70 powerlifters use the training site every year to train for various events.
Oh, okay.
And actually, they're in the process of getting ready for the National Para Games or 전국 장애인 체육대회 that's due this October. So
Yes.
timing is of the essence.
Right.
And then on top of this, Busan City is hosting the National Games next year, so it really doesn't bode well for the city as it's trying to become the sports center. So an official from the Para Powerlifters Association said that the training site, of course, it is important for the meets and matches and training for that, but just everyday training for para athletes, it helps to improve their physical condition and their rehabilitation. So
I see.
really every day that they miss out because there's no space, it's a loss for them.
Right. I certainly hope they work this out, though, right? All right, let's move on for now, though. Busan City is taking over the operations of 백양터널, which I often mention during our traffic update, right?
Right.
Which would normally mean that the toll would be waived, or at least that's what we would think. However, this may not be the case.
Right. So Busan City is in the process of taking over the operations for Tunnel, which is currently it's a privately invested and for now privately operated road. For regular vehicles, there's a 900 won toll, and then 1,400 for large large trucks. But according to the plans that city submitted to the city council, Busan City says that it will keep it a paid road but lower the rates to 500 won for regular vehicles and 1,100 won for trucks respectively. So the tunnel connects Mora to Danggam area, and I actually do take it often, and it is one of the key roads in the very much congested parts of Gwanmun-daero.
Exactly. So why is the city keeping this basically a tolled tunnel?
Right, to control the flow of traffic, apparently, because right now this tunnel gets about 75,000 cars per day on average. However, the city estimates that if they waive the toll and it becomes a free road, the number of cars will rise by over 40%. So that will become perpetually congested again.
Yes.
But the city does plan to use its tolls to improve the traffic environment around the area. However, there are questions to how convincing this will be to the users and concerns that this may set bad precedents for future cases when a public municipality or the city takes over a private road. And by the way, this bill did pass the respective committee at City Council, so it seems like it is coming closer to actually happening.
All right. Thanks for giving us an update on that. Lastly, Busan City has launched a children's safety hero system for school zone safety.
Right. So in the States, I don't know about other countries, but there was the flag guard or the traffic crossing
Guards, yes.
Right. So there were like 5th or 6th graders and they have literally flags. And we do that like 초록 어머니 or 초록 부모님. So parents do that to you let the cars in and out and,
Yes.
go. But kids do that. And I guess we are also implementing that system here too. So school zone safety, always a crucial issue.
Right.
And the city is involving the children themselves in that process. So the Busan City launched their Children's Safety Heroes yesterday via the launching ceremony. And they will actually not be crossing guards, but act as eyes on the scene as they go about their day-to-day activities to look for potential danger spots around their schools and get the kids involved in boosting safety. So there are 208 safety heroes in the 5th or 6th grade level across 39 elementary schools. They have a 2-year commitment, and they'll report on potentially dangerous aspects and also participate in safety training, which the city hopes will also raise awareness among students about their own safety.
Well, I think this is a great program because it's not just about adults protecting children. Children should be better aware as well.
Absolutely.
So, great idea. Thank you for the updates, Haley. Now it's back to you, the listeners. We have a fun one for you today. It's all about summer food. What's your favorite summer treat or treats that help you stay cool? Because yesterday, yes, officially hot, right? So we mentioned things already like bingsu, and Haley mentioned naengmyeon. Today, on the menu for lunch today, definitely bilmyeon for me. Here is your traffic and weather for now. It is now 7:17. This is your traffic report. It looks slow on Lunos Hamseongdaero from Myeongji underpass to Shinho Bridge right now. There is also traffic detected on Chungnyeoldaero from Daesung to Dongnae intersection. There's also backup reported on the Dongso overpass from Bumnaekgol ramp to the old Kaegum tollgate. As for the weather, it's currently 21 degrees Celsius, already under clear skies, and the daytime high will climb all the way up to 31. Looking across the nation, another hot day expected with special heat wave reports issued for Daegu, parts of Gyeongbuk, Ulsan, and parts of Gyeongnam as well. Showers are forecast for parts of Gyeongbuk and Gyeongnam. This was your traffic and weather for right now.
Check this out.
This is Morning Wave Busan.
Everybody, wait a minute.
This is Morning Wave.
Morning Wave.
You are listening to
Morning Wave.
Morning Wave in Busan.
What show is this?
This is Morning Wave in Busan.
Here we go. Morning Wave in Busan.
It It is now time for news. We still have Haley in the studio with us, and we're going to jump right into our first story. We're going to talk first about the 22nd National Assembly continuing to set records, not in a good way, though. We're talking about partisan conflict. What happened to the whole let's get along and cooperate?
I think there was never that spirit in the 22nd Assembly to begin with.
Towards like the end of the 21st, there was like one day.
With the presidential meeting with the DP chair,
yes.
And then everything fell apart.
Yes.
So the opposition parties yesterday, they unilaterally elected, last week, they unilaterally elected the speaker and opened the National Assembly without the ruling party. First time this ever happened. Continuing to set records, last night, the opposition parties selected chairs of the 11 out of 18 standing committees, with the ruling party boycotting the vote. Once again, the first time this ever happened under the Constitution.
Right.
So the two major parties, the People Power Party and the Democratic Party, they had been negotiating over the chairmanship until last night, which was well past the legal deadline to begin with. And then at that point, the DP deemed that the talks are going nowhere and they called the vote.
So which standing committees are we talking about?
Right. So of the 11, they include these three key committees. Number one, the Legislative and Judiciary Committee, which is basically the gateway where all the bills go through from their respective standing committees before they go on to a floor vote. So that's key. Also, this is the committee that's in charge of special counsels. Secondly, the Steering Committee, which is in charge of matters concerning the presidential office.
Yes.
And lastly, the Science and Broadcasting Committee, which is key for media and broadcasting policies.
Right. So how has the ruling party responded to all this?
Well, not well, but specifically, the People Power Party's floor leader, Chu Kyung-ho, announced that the party is holding a lawmakers' assembly this morning at 10 to discuss specifically how they will proceed. They're currently discussing boycotting not only the committee meetings from now on, but even other National Assembly sessions. And the opposition Democratic Party says that it'll actually push ahead selecting chairs of the remaining 7 committees, which are allotted to People Power Party lawmakers.
Okay.
So they're going to also go on and deal with issues like the Universal Handout, the Grain Act, and the Rental Scam Special Legislation, which were all vetoed by the president in the last iteration of the National Assembly.
Sure.
Along with getting on with the special counsel probe on the First Lady and the death of Marine Corporal Che.
I see. So not too much has changed,
Things
basically.
are moving, but just on one side.
Yes. All right. Leaving that there for now, we're going to move on to the whole government versus doctors conflict. It's getting heated as the country's biggest doctors group has warned of collective action.
Right. So another issue that is just escalating. So things may be snowballing because the Korean Medical Association, the KMA, said it is joining in on the collective action, and the government has warned of stern responses. So the Minister of Health, Cho Kyu-hong, yesterday, he issued orders for private practitioners to keep providing medical treatment.
Yes.
And also, if they do close their practices on the day of the collective action, to report that to the authorities well in advance. So specifically, the government has issued an order for the doctors to keep providing medical treatment for June 18th, which is the date that the KMA members said that they will go on strike.
Yes.
Also, medical practices that do intend on taking that day off, they must report it to the authorities 3 business days in advance, which makes that June 13th. And on the 18th itself, the government will have local governments roll calls to the clinics, and if the closing rate is over 30%, it'll issue a resume business order and take administrative action if necessary.
Okay.
So what that means, those who do not comply with the resume business order, they may face up to a 15-day suspension of business and or a year suspension of their medical license, along with, if they are prosecuted, under 3 years of prison or up to 30 million won in fines.
Wow. So what have the doctors said about all of this?
Right. So actually, even medical professors announced that they will join, saying that the professors are members of the KMA.
Okay.
But the closing date may differ by school to school. And they actually may be alone, at least within the medical universities, because other hospital staff, they have said that the strike is unreasonable, and the doctors' groups have chosen a standoff despite the government kind of pulling back and lifting its restrictive measures. So the Union of Public Health Workers said that the groups should not hold the lives of patients hostage, and that such action will face resistance from the public.
Yes. So that is the status of one of the biggest stories that continues to, of course, affect so many people across the nation. Well, next up, we have reported on the population decline in so far South Korea's future with the current birth rate. And now there is a grim new report out on what that may mean for the economy.
Right, because the population always equals economic growth.
Yes.
And with South Korea's population expected to really plummet in the next few decades, the only way is down, unfortunately, it seems, for the country's production and growth as well.
Yes.
So this is according to a report by the Bank of Korea, which was titled Second Place in R&D, but Stagnant Production. So let's break that down. So the Bank of Korea, or the BOK, says unless there's a dramatic upturn in the birth rate and production, the country will see negative growth by the year 2040s. So the most important factor influencing this is, of course, population, literally how many people we have and also have in the workforce.
Yes.
But the figures in population, it's expected to go down to total population 50,060,000 by 2040. And this is shocking. Plummet to 37 million by 2070. Right. However, the central bank pointed out that the country is also lacking in innovation sectors for the overall economy that could make up for the loss in population. So the report says that South Korea does have large spending in research and development as well as patents. However, growth increase for corporations has really stagnated and even plummeted from 6% in the years of 2001 to 2010 to 0.5%. So that's a 5.5% drop in the following decade.
So we need to know, how did growth fall that much in the span of, 2 decades?
Exactly. So apparently large corporations have increased their quantity but not quality of development and research. So the top 5% of corporations in Korea, they have vastly increased their research and development spending and patents as well.
Okay.
But actual usage of patents, which kind of points to how productive or how useful these patents are,
Sure.
they have dropped significantly. Also, small and mid-sized enterprises, SMEs, have been suffering from funding issues, and they have thus been seeing a lack of production.
So what can be done about this? Can we turn it around?
So one is kind of obvious, spending on basic research, because
Okay.
that serves as a fundamental for innovative growth. But unfortunately, spending on basic research has decreased between the years of 2010 and 2021.
Yes.
Also, smart rebels. This is
Smart rebels?
Smart rebels. So kids who are kind of rebellious, but also smart. Or smart kids who think outside the box.
Okay, I was going to say, is this like a new thing?
No, that's
like literally
well,
smart rebels?
Because if you think about it, like your Steve Jobs, your entrepreneurs, Elon Musk, they all have a history of kind of dropping out from, I also say, yes, they're college dropouts, but they also got into Ivy Leagues and Stanford in the first
they're
place.
brilliant,
But they're
right.
brilliant, but they think outside the box.
That's true.
Which is kind of the pattern with especially top Silicon Valley entrepreneurs in the States.
Yes.
However, in South Korea, smart kids are kind of strapped to social conventions. They are still within very much the framework of the school system. We're not
Right.
encouraging anyone to drop out,
Of
but to
course.
think outside the box. So smart rebels in South Korea find employment rather than entrepreneurship. And therefore, right now, the top corporations in Korea are still the very much same manufacturing-based companies from the pre-1990s period.
That's true. So that's something I think we can work on as a country.
Right. And as parents and teachers to kind of encourage that outside the box thinking.
Yes, to be individual.
Right.
Not necessarily bad as in bad rebel, right? All right, lastly, one figure that has come under global attention in the past, especially past 24 hours
Right.
is Benny Gantz, the Israeli war cabinet minister who has announced he's going to exit the Israeli cabinet.
Yeah, there's no one else in the world whose next career move is under so much attention right now. So
Yes.
former Israeli war cabinet minister Benny Gantz has quit the emergency government. Although we can't say this was a surprise because he has warned this well in advance, giving a month's notice. On May 18th, Gantz announced that if Netanyahu, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, does not come up with a coherent plan to bring the hostages home
Right.
and governance of post-war Gaza, then he will leave the cabinet by June 8th. He actually gave it one more day because of the hostage rescue situation in Gaza. So Gantz, for who he is, he's a retired general. He did lead the Israeli Defense Forces office as chief of staff. He's also considered Netanyahu's biggest political challenger. And also for the U.S., their favorite contact within the cabinet, or at least he was.
Yes.
And Netanyahu posted with a response on X saying, Benny, this is not the time to quit the campaign. It is time to join the forces.
Yes. So, what does this mean, this resignation mean for the war in Gaza?
Well, the thing is, Gantz was seen as kind of a cooler, more professional figure in the war cabinet. So there are concerns that the things may kind of fully go in Netanyahu's way or even further right, because Netanyahu's far-right coalition is already pushing for one of their members to join the war cabinet.
Yes.
So, of course, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has arrived in the Middle East to get on with the peace talks or ceasefire talks. So we'll see how this entire situation pans out.
All right. Well, thank you for all the news. And while we get our song ready, let's get to our text topic, which is this. What is your favorite summer food?
Can I also can I on our YouTube, can I actually name names like restaurants on our channel? Okay, so
on there.
Yeah, listeners, get onto our YouTube because as per request, I'm gonna unravel some of my summer picks. Yes.
All right, we're ready for our first song of the morning. So here it is. This is What Makes You Beautiful by One Direction.
You're insecure, don't know what for. You're turning heads when you walk through the door. Don't need makeup to cover up. Being the way that you are is enough. Everyone else in the room can see it. Everyone else but you. Baby, you light up my world like nobody else. The way that you flip your hair gets me overwhelmed. But when you smile at the ground, it ain't hard to tell. You don't know you're beautiful. If only you saw what I can see, you'll understand why I want you so desperately. Right now I'm looking at you and I can't believe you don't know. You don't know you're beautiful. That's what makes you beautiful. So come on, you got it wrong. To prove I'm right, I put it in a song. I don't know why you're being shy and turn away when I look into your eyes. Everyone else in the room can see it. Everyone else but you. Baby, you light up my world like nobody else. The way that you flip your hair gets me overwhelmed. But when you smile at the ground, it ain't hard to tell. You don't know you're beautiful. If only you saw what I can see, you'll understand why I want you so desperately. Right now I'm looking at you and I can't believe you don't know. You don't know you're beautiful. That's what makes you beautiful. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Baby, you light up my world like nobody else. The way that you flip your hair gets me overwhelmed. But when you smile at the ground, it ain't hard to tell. You don't know you're beautiful. Baby, you light up my world like nobody else. The way that you flip your hair gets me overwhelmed. But when you smile at the ground, it ain't hard to tell. You don't know you're beautiful. If only you saw what I can see, you'll understand why I want you so desperately. Right now I'm looking at you and I can't believe you don't know. You don't know you're beautiful. You don't know you're beautiful. That's what makes you beautiful.
Such like a very summery song. Love it. All right, our top story today is all about those street food carts or stalls, whatever you want to call them, the 포장마차, and the way that districts are dealing with these mostly illegal businesses. So Yeongdo district is taking an interesting approach. The district corralled these food carts and stands into one area, giving tentative permission on the condition that the owners don't sell or pass their carts off to others. During the daytime, the area is used as a public parking lot, and the carts only come out at night. And they have gained traction on social media. These days, everything's so related to social media. The district also rents the city-owned land in Taejongdae for free to clam grill carts or stalls as well. Busan district is taking a similar approach for the carts behind its major department store in Seomyeon. And these districts say they are trying to control the expansion of these carts, but allowing them to operate in the current state with the long-term goal of their numbers kind of dwindling naturally with time is, I guess, their goal. So, let's talk about food because it is hot. It's going to be another hot one today. Expected high of 31 here in Busan. One of the good things about summer is, though, it can be bearable with certain good food during the summer. So let's share some of your favorite summer treats that help you stay cool. 자, 오늘은 이 여름 이 음식이 없으면 안 돼 하는 게 뭐예요? 나를 버티게 하는 여름 별미 음식 또는 음료 얘기하고 있습니다. And Leslie mentioned watermelon. I mean, how can you survive summer without watermelon? We already had our first watermelon of the season. I was a little skeptical. I'm like, are they ripe enough? But lo and behold, what kind of tests do you do for watermelon, by the way? Do you tap on them? Do you look at the little, the stem? What do you do? So I had the Dengdeng Mart employee. I asked him very nicely, like, can you help me pick out a watermelon? He was very nice. He's like, he tapped on a couple. He's like, this one's good. So I trusted him. I bought it, and we already enjoyed half of it in the past 2 days. So definitely, Umberto also agreeing. Saying his favorites are watermelon juice with some mint, watermelon popsicles, yum, watermelon smoothies, watermelon pieces. I get it. I am in that same boat, and I'm sure Leslie agrees with us as well. A lot of people are mentioning 빙수, any type of 빙수 these days. Like 고수님, 빙수 먹고 싶어지네요. Because a Taejin Club waiver, he mentioned in Thailand, yes, they have a certain, the bingsu, the mango bingsu shaved ice that tastes very much like the 설땡 brand here in Korea. And these days, some of the bingsus are quite pricey. So if you can, suggestions, you can actually post on our YouTube channel. I can't say them on air. Anyhow, I'll be back with our hot clip for today. For today's hot clip, we already talked about Benny Gantz earlier. And this is all in relation to that Israeli raid that rescued hostages. And we have to also talk about the aftermath, though. So first, listen to the clip from NBC News.
We're coming on the air with that new and dramatic inside look at the Israeli raid that led to the release of 4 hostages and may have resulted in the deaths of hundreds of Palestinians. You see armed Israeli troops charging in, look at this, later rushing the hostages to freedom in helicopters waiting on the beach.
Tonight, new video of Israel's brazen daylight raid that rescued 4 hostages from the Gaza Strip. These images, provided by Israel's military, show soldiers leading 2 of the hostages to freedom and then flying them back to their families in a jubilant Israel. Soldiers' body cam video also showing the intense battle on the ground. One high-profile captive, Noah Agarmani, finally met her mother, who's dying of terminal cancer. And Andrei Kozlov falls to his knees when he sees his mother for the first time. Israelis celebrated one of their few successful hostage rescues. But back in Gaza, Palestinians are mourning their dead and picking up pieces of their shattered homes. Health officials in Gaza are calling Israel's successful raid a brutal massacre. Gazan health officials said nearly 300 people were killed during Israel's assault on the Nuseirat refugee camp where the hostages were hidden. Among the dead, 64 children. According to Gaza's health ministry, nearly 700 people were wounded. Many were treated on the floors of hospitals already overwhelmed by 8 months of war.
We have nothing to do with Hamas. I was taking breakfast with my family here. Why you send the helicopter to bomb us?
This woman said Israeli forces killed both her sons in the raid. I don't have anyone else but them. I only have them, she said. God is my witness. My son is 8 years old. The second one is 12 years old. Children, what's their fault? We were in Nuseirat shopping as normal, said this man. A little later, we see helicopters, 20 of them. They were close. After they were shooting on the whole place, they hit everybody. Body parts, people, everything is gone. Back in Israel, this rare victory didn't heal the political fractures dividing the government. Benny Gantz, a former defense minister, just announced his resignation from Israel's war cabinet. He slammed Netanyahu, who he said was blocking Israel from, quote, real victory. And he apologized to the remaining hostages' families, saying the government had failed to bring them home.
So as you heard in that clip, yes, Israeli hostages were rescued. Definitely a good thing. However, if the numbers are accurate from the Palestinian side, they're saying at least 274 have been killed, 698 wounded. Israeli forces claim that there were under 100 casualties. The numbers differ. The point is this. I mean, isn't a life a life? Yes. Gaza, such a hot spot right now. Yes, Hamas definitely attacked Israel first, but at what cost? The civilians right now, it's getting so bloody. So anyhow, this was your hot clip for today.
Stay tuned. You're listening to Morning Wave in Busan.
Summer is here. Apparently, Andrew, the Sports Insider, brought it. I love the turquoise. Love it.
It was funny. Haley said the same thing, and I was...
it almost looks like a rash guard.
I have... Oh, God, she said, are you going to the beach? Not that tight. Come on now.
No, I'm just saying, like, the color of it's so beautiful.
Okay.
I was complimenting you.
Okay, thank you. Yes. No, I have a schedule change today, so I don't start until a little bit later. So I was just, easing my way into the day. All right?
Yes.
I'll be all right.
Summer foods. What's your like go-to item? Like, I mean, your family?
Everyone's saying watermelon. You guys were asking, how to choose one. There's a few steps I take.
Okay.
Stay away from the elongated ones, the ones that look like an oval or an egg. Get away. Uniform size, like round. And I know a lot of, when I'm in the supermarket, I see people stay away from the ones that have the spot on them. They're the ones you want. If it's the darker the spot, the better. That means it's sweeter.
Okay.
But if it's a white spot, you don't want that.
I also hear there's something about the stripes.
The stripes, yeah. And there's also if there's webbing. If there's webbing, if it's small webbing and it's not sweet, if it's large webbing that goes around it, it's
all right,
sweeter.
Farmer Andrew.
There you go. Yeah. But I don't know.
I'm taking you next time.
I like bingsu. Bingsu's pretty good.
What flavor?
I would probably go with I'm a big fan of a mango. Mango bingsu is
yeah, that's
good.
popular on our board right now.
It's good.
I love strawberry too, though.
Or any kind of fruity, summery drink, or even like a mojito or something like that. But also, the mocktails are great as well. A frozen drink always is good on a hot day.
Yes. All right. Now that we're thoroughly hungry and in need of some ice cold stuff.
Well, I get to leave here in 15 minutes or so. You're here for another.
Right.
So with the Paris Olympics just 45 days away, most teams are putting the finishing touches on who they will be sending to represent their countries. Now, a bomb was dropped this week when Caitlin Clark, or over the weekend, is not going to Paris next month, as she said there is no disappointment, as she has been left off of the U.S. Olympic roster. So as someone who's brought more eyes to women's basketball than I don't want to say ever, but in the past couple of months.
People are watching because of her.
People are watching because of her.
Yes.
There's, different, like her home team, the Indiana Fever, they had to move to a different arena for a game because there's too many tickets that were being sold. When she played against the Mystics as well was another thing. So the Indiana Fever rookie confirmed on Sunday that she wasn't selected to represent Team USA at this summer's Olympics. And she always takes the high road, with a lot of stuff. She said, I think it just gives you something to work for. It's a dream. Hopefully one day I can be there, and I'm sure she will be. I think it's just a little more motivation. You remember that, hopefully when 4 years comes back, I can be there. And she also kind of mentioned to her coach, she said,
yes.
They've woke a monster. That she's going to turn into one on the court. She also went on to say, I'm excited for the girls that are on the team. I know it's the most competitive team in the world, which it is. And I know it could have gone either way for me, but she essentially said she'll be rooting for the team. Now, in the news, if you've been on X or any of these platforms, there's a lot of people who are coming out in her defense. And not everyone is saying just because her basketball skills.
Right.
Because no one's saying that the other women who are on the team aren't there on merit. Some of them people are thinking, well, they might be over the hill. But they're there because they've won 5 gold medals.
Because they're veterans.
They're veterans.
They have experience.
Exactly.
Leadership.
And they've been there for USA Basketball.
Right.
But we're going to go to a clip here from the always controversial or outspoken Stephen A. Smith from ESPN. And he has some choice words for USA Basketball. Let's take a listen.
That's what it's about. Stop acting otherwise. We know this. You don't sit up there and pass on Caitlin Clark. It was stupid, Team USA. It was a dumb decision. Everybody, there's always somebody that's a sacrificial lamb. I respect the hell out of Rebecca Lobo and what she broke down. I understand it. It was a stupid decision because it compromises what your ultimate goal is, which is to elevate the WNBA brand. How can you be that idiot? I'm not talking about y'all. I'm talking about Team USA. How could you be that idiotic and not make that call when throughout history, Team USA has been in part about marketing?
I envy his platform. Like, can I broadcast like that for 2 hours? You and I both.
I don't think I could last. I don't think I could last.
Our voices would be hoarse. Our voices would be gone.
And I think he was on, that's Hardline on ESPN, and, there were 2 other female who were in the WNBA previously, and I believe Shannon Sharp was on there as well. And they were talking about, it's, people are there because of their skills. And you're trying to elevate the WNBA and I'm not pulling any punches here when I say a lot of people say that, it's a league that is losing money. It's a league that it hasn't in the past hasn't been doing well. And you have this person, as in Caitlin Clark, who comes in and elevates it to a whole new level.
Yes.
It wouldn't have just been doing it for the WNBA and women's basketball in America. It's for the worldwide brand as well. So people might say, well, is that a reason to put her on the team? No, but she could have also been there on merit as well.
Right.
But she's also a rookie.
She's a rookie. She's just literally just joined the league, right?
I think she should have gone.
I agree.
Yeah, for sure.
But then, you know what? We are not the decision makers.
No, definitely not. I wish Stephen A. Smith was because it'd be hilarious.
I know.
Him and Dave Portnoy should be
lots of people had
it was
opinions.
funny. Yes.
All right. Let's go to our next story. What's it about?
Yeah, we're going to switch over to the Boston Celtics. In the NBA, they've seized a 2-0 series lead in the NBA Finals after Game 2 win over the Dallas Mavericks on Sunday night or Monday morning here in Korea.
Okay.
Boston was led to a 105-98 victory by guard Drew Holiday, who had 26 points on 11 for 14 shooting.
Yes.
And it was kind of, I was back and forth. I watched a bit of this game, and I was like, ooh, the Mavs are in this. They're going to take game 1. And then it was all Mavs, and then it was all Mavs, and then the Celtics were like, hold my drink. And then they came back. Yeah, they came back. So, the Mavs were up, and then by the halftime, Boston took the lead 54-51. And then the Mavericks did make a comeback here with Luka Doncic, just coming in and always the player who's going to make a difference.
Yes.
But I feel that Dallas Mavericks fans are realizing that they can't rely on him to do everything. He had 32 points, 11 assists, 11 rebounds. and it still wasn't enough, you know. So we'll see how things go. Game 3 tips off tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. here in Korea. I'm sure you can find that on whatever network you have at home.
All right. For now, though, let's jump over to the world of soccer, aka football.
Yes.
Huge week for international soccer, right?
Yeah, so South Korea will host China in the final second round match in the AFC World Cup qualifications tonight here in Korea at 8 p.m. at the Seoul World Cup Stadium. It's not a real big game for Korea. They've already qualified. They're moving on after last week, just dismantling Singapore 7-0. I mean, it was nice to see that many goals, but it was also, by the end of it, I was like, come on.
It's like mercy.
Be nice to this
I know,
team. All right?
You're in Singapore.
But it is a huge game for China. So China needing at least a draw to join South Korea in the next phase of the qualifying here. Or China could get through in goal differential. But the thing is, Thailand is playing Singapore. And the way things are going for Singapore, Thailand's probably going to score a few goals against them. So that's why China needs at least a point, because if Thailand were to win, they would be even on points, and then they're probably going to make it through on goal differential. So that's what they need. Now, when you were talking about a big week for international soccer, international football, I believe maybe we're talking about the Euros.
Oh, yes.
All right. So this gets underway. The Euro 2024 tournament will be held in Germany, and 24 teams will compete to be crowned the champions of Europe. Now, Italy are the title defenders, which were unlikely champions last time. So it's always up in the air who's actually going to win this. And they beat England in penalties that last time, which was a pretty unbelievable spectacle at Wembley.
Yes.
On and off the pitch, if you will. Now, the month-long tournament will get started June 14th. So this Friday night in Germany, it'll be Saturday morning here in Korea. I believe the kickoff's 4 a.m. At the Munich Football Arena, where Germany plays host to Scotland. And then the rounds will go. And I'm sure we're going to be talking about this, in the weeks to come about, how teams have been doing. But yeah.
Well, speaking of sports, Leslie has a different take on Caitlin Clark, in her opinion.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so she says, honestly, a lot of people think Caitlin Clark is off-putting, not humble. So there are people that agree with the decision. And that is true. It is kind of split, some people support her. Some people.
There's a lot of things that go into the Caitlin Clark argument. It's, there's political arguments. There's religion. There's a whole white-black kind of thing that goes on. And that is huge. I'm not just saying that off the top of my head. It is massive there. And then it's also, it comes down to ideology that she has in her personal life. And some people aren't a fan of that either.
Yes.
But I think it does come down to, in the end, that USA Basketball is favoring their veterans. And they don't want to upset their veteran camp because it may make I don't know. It's like the cat amongst the pigeons, is it kind of what they say? And I don't think they want that. Yeah.
So going back to the Euros, who are the favorites?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny, and I'm sure a lot of my English friends don't want me to say this.
Yes.
But England are the favorites. Now, this is the Opta supercomputer predictions. I got to give them a shout out because if they have their supercomputer, we have to let them know that we're talking about it. So they're number one for the winner. It's 19.9%. France just in second with 19.1%.
Okay.
And a lot of people were surprised that Germany was so high, but Germany has kind of turned it on in the last few months and got their things straightened out, if you will.
Sure.
And they're third. And always the home team has an advantage.
Right,
you know what I mean?
true.
Get out of the group. That's all you need to do. And then go from there. And then rounding out the top five, we have Spain and Portugal. But again, as we saw in the last Euros, I believe Italy may have been ranked, I think it was 9th, and then went on to win it. If you go all the way down to the bottom.
Who's at the bottom?
I think it was Georgia at a 0.9% chance or 0.09% chance or something like that.
Yes, yes.
I'm hoping, let's go Georgia. They're my dark horse. All right, I think we'll win.
All right, we'll see.
One last thing here, if you're interested in hockey, the Stanley Cup Finals got underway just a couple of days ago. Florida Panthers took Game 1 3-0 with an empty net goal over the Edmonton Oilers. Game 2 gets underway this morning at 9 a.m. Local time here in Korea. And sometimes it is on Korean TV. TV. Sometimes it's not. But if not, maybe you need a streaming service.
Yes, or you can just check in with Andrew next week.
There you go.
That's what we're going to do. So that's a wrap for all the sports. And we're going to check in with you next week.
Cheers. Have a good one.
All right, everybody. This was Andrew with Sports Insider. It's time to wrap up hour number 1. So we're going to get to this song. How can we resist, right? 팥빙수 by Billy and 윤종신.
서서히 조린다 빙수용 위생얼음 냉동실 안에 꽁꽁 단단히 얼린다 노랗지 칵테일에 국물은 따라내고 고이면 건진다 체리는 꼭지 체리 깨끗이 씻는다 팥빙수 난 좋아 너무 좋아 야 팥빙수
befm 부산영어방송.
부산의 축제 어디까지 즐겨보셨나요? 과거와 현재, 미래가 공존하는 항구도시 부산. 이곳 부산은 계절을 물들이는 다양한 축제로 늘 풍성합니다. 봄의 시작을 알리는 봄꽃 축제부터 부산의 여름을 만끽하는 바다축제, 전 세계 영화인들이 모이는 부산국제영화제와 새로운 시작의 해맞이 축제까지. 부산의 축제는 우리의 열정을 가득 담고 있습니다. 바쁜 일상은 잠시 뒤로 하고 특별한 시간을 선물 받는 바로 이곳 부산에서 우리의 삶은 축제가 됩니다. 축제로 하나 되는 부산, 여러분은 어떤 축제를 기다리시나요? 이 캠페인은 대선공익재단과 bfm 부산영어방송이 함께합니다.
혹시 지금 운전 중이신가요? 어린이 교통사고 피해자 수는 지난 3년 평균 약 9만 명. 특히 어린이 보호구역 안전기준이 강화된 이후에도 어린이 보호구역 내 사고는 지속적으로 발생하고 있습니다. 스쿨존에서는 반드시 시속 30km 이하 서행, 스쿨존 내 불법 주정차 금지, 차량 출발 전 앞뒤 좌우 살피는 습관으로 어린이가 안전한 도시를 만듭니다. 참, 운전 중 휴대전화 사용은 모두에게 위험합니다. 우리 모두를 위한 교통안전, 나부터 실천하면 모두가 안전해집니다. 어린이가 안전하게 뛰어놀 수 있는 부산. 알 키우기 좋은 도시는 우리 모두의 미래이자 희망입니다. 이 캠페인은 어린이가 안전한 부산을 만드는 은행, BNK 부산은행과 함께합니다.
Hi everyone, I'm Ressa from Indonesia. It's my 4th year living here in Busan as an undergraduate student at Kyongsong University. Let me first describe what my hometown looks like. Jakarta, Indonesia is surrounded by beautiful oceans, exotic temples, and strong dialects. Does any of this ring a bell? Yes. The descriptions also fit very well with Busan. 7 beaches, attractive temples like Haedong Yonggongsa, and we can't forget the famous dialect Busan 사투리. And that's when I knew Busan was going to be my second home. I grew up so much in Busan that I even mentor other students from Indonesia to help them with their Korean and life in Busan. When I teach them Korean, I sometimes see myself using 사투리. Looking back, I remember struggling to understand what my professors were saying because they were using 찐 Busan 사투리. You know, the real Busan dialect. But I think that's what makes Busan more of my home. Through the dialect, I feel the warm charm that no other city can mimic. Global City Busan. We are in it together. This campaign is brought to you by befm 부산영어방송.
The time is now 8 o'clock.
It's morning!
And what a lovely morning!
Dynamic Busan.
Good morning! Good morning!
Good morning!
Good morning!
Hello, Chevy.
What show is this?
Hello!
Hello, baby.
Hey, buddy.
Hello, everybody. Live from Korea's dynamic city, this is Morning Wave in Busan.
It is now 8 o'clock and this is news highlights. Opposition parties unilaterally pick 11 committee chairs. The main opposition, Democratic Party or DP, and minor parties yesterday voted to unilaterally select 11 parliamentary committee chiefs, with the ruling People Power Party or PPP boycotting the vote. The parties had continued their stalemate over the chairpersonship past the June 7th deadline, prompting the DP to declare its intent to unilaterally vote on the chairs of standing committees if agreement with the PPP fails before the plenary session set for late last night. Opposition parties voted to elect the chairs of 11 standing committees, including the Judiciary, Broadcasting, and Steering Committees, which will all be chaired by DP lawmakers. Anti-corruption agency finds no law violation in First Lady's luxury bag scandal. The Anti-Corruption and Civil Rights Commission, the ACRC, has decided that it found no violations of the Anti-Graft Act surrounding suspicions over a luxury bag that First Lady Kim Gun-hee received in 2022. The Commission's Vice Chair and Secretary General Chung Seung-yoon said in a briefing yesterday that the Commission decided to close the case as the anti-graft law does not include regulations sanctioning the spouses of public servants. The Seoul Central District Prosecutor's Office, meanwhile, continues to investigate suspicions surrounding the luxury bag since Voice of Seoul filed a complaint against the first couple. Yoon arrives in Turkmenistan for Central Asia state visit. President Yoon Suk-yeol arrived in Ashgabat, Turkmenistan on Monday local time and held a summit with President Serdar Berdimuhamedov, where the two presidents agreed to work closely together for the ROK Central Asia K-Silk Road strategy. The two leaders signed 8 memoranda of understanding or MOU, including ways to expand South Korean companies' activities in the natural, gas-rich energy and plant sectors of Turkmenistan. Yoon will travel to Astana, Kazakhstan today and depart from Uzbekistan on Saturday. South Korea forgoes loudspeaker propaganda yesterday. South Korea's military decided not to operate its propaganda loudspeakers on the North Korean border yesterday, a day after turning them on for the first time in 6 years. The Joint Chiefs of Staff, JCS, announced the move amid questions over the loudspeaker's possible operation for the second straight day, after it warned that additional broadcasts would depend entirely on the North's actions. The JCS also noted that it detected signs of the North installing loudspeakers of its own near the border, but it has yet to make broadcasts. UN Security Council passes Gaza ceasefire resolution. The UN Security Council has adopted a U.S. proposed resolution endorsing a three-part ceasefire plan aimed at ending Israel's war in Gaza. Hamas welcomed a permanent ceasefire called in the resolution and confirmed its willingness to work on ways to implement the principles. 14 out of 15-member UN Security Council states voted in favor of the resolution with an abstention from Russia. Ukraine strikes targets inside Russia for the first time. A Ukrainian warplane has fired a weapon that struck a target inside Russia for the first time, reported a news outlet from the UK. A military source said that a Russian command node was hit on Sunday local time in Belgorod near the Ukraine border. The United States and France recently said that the Ukrainian armed forces were permitted to use their arms to strike military targets inside Russia, from where Russian forces are launching attacks against Ukraine, but it is not clear whether the weapons used were from the West. And this was News Highlights. It's now time for issue wa글와글. So Haley's back in the studio.
Hello, I am your food guru. We've been having so much fun on our YouTube.
Right,
Join,
and,
which is if you're not subscribed, you've liked or followed our channel,
You're missing out.
You're missing out on the food recommendations.
And not just that. I mean, I just threw out a question like innocently, like, by the way, what's your favorite ice cream flavor?
Right. I mean,
it's like lit up.
We don't even need a wa글와글 segment because wa글와글 is going on our feed, on our chat.
So my favorite is, I know this is very divisive. Some people love it, some people hate it.
Ew, is it mint?
That's my favorite. Look at the color of my shirt. It's my favorite. Mint chocolate chip.
We agree on so many things.
But that's not one.
But that is
What's
where
your favorite?
Cookies and cream.
Oh.
And then also, I don't really see it in Korea, but vanilla bean. Like it has the flecks of vanilla, like the dots.
So good.
Also, weirdly, this is you get me started on food, and I'm like, cancel everything.
Okay, yes.
This is happening.
My mic is like.
Also, when you go to Gangwon,
yes,
they have like sundubu gelato, and it's made with tofu. So you forget about the sugar, but you're just like, this is so good for me. It's protein.
Is it good though?
It's so good.
It's so good.
It's so good. And then they'll have like the vanilla flavored with weird, but hear me out, olive oil. Try that at home. Just buy any vanilla ice cream and drizzle some high quality olive oil on it, and then like sprinkle in some black pepper. And good if it's like grinded. So good.
Really?
It's like weirdly good.
Okay, one last thing. Not avocado, affocato.
Oh yeah, avocado. Like I make my own.
Yes.
I can't say that, but like my poor person's version of avocado.
Yes.
I get some like the instant coffee sticks and melt it in water and make espresso.
Yes.
And then pour it over ice cream. So good. Whew.
Okay, so
we're
we gotta
done,
get
right? I
into-
can go.
Yeah, let's go home. Let's get some ice cream. Well, we've been talking about the rise of these so-called MZ, like mobsters, gangsters, and one has been sentenced to prison for illegal money lending and blackmail. So
I mean,
let's
he
talk
was
about this.
essentially a loan shark.
Yes.
And he has been found guilty. So Seoul Central Court yesterday sentenced this 28-year-old gang member to a 5-year prison sentence for violating the law on illegal money lending, blackmail and false imprisonment of another person, along with 3 of his accomplices. And this is interesting. The other 3 were sentenced between 1 year in prison to a year or a year and a half in probation. So what happened? This man, he lent 2 million won to one of the victims, and this is just one of the antics,
right?
With a 30% interest.
30%?
30%, which is why he's a loan shark.
Yes.
To be paid with the principal in 6 days.
Ooh.
Yeah.
6 days?
Definitely fishy.
Yes.
So he would use similar methods, and I mean, the story gets worse, to lend collectively 277 million won. So that's 2억 7,700만 won across 126 occasions without, of course, registering as a moneylender. So what happened was during the COVID times when business was bad, one private business owner couldn't pay back the interest, which apparently had somehow amounted to 1,560% of the principal.
Oh my gosh.
Because of COVID difficulties, this person made horrible threats. And this is according to court records, like how he will find the business owner's girlfriend and sell her.
Oh my, sell her?
Traffic her. Human trafficking. So he made blackmails to human trafficking. Or, this is really disturbing. So if you have children listening, cut off his Achilles tendon.
Like literally?
Literally. I mean, the threats. So this was, once again, all court records. So the threats got so bad, the victim actually called the police, and he was under police custody for protection at a precinct, which is when the perpetrator called his friends and tried to break into the police office to get this person out to do whatever he wanted.
Yes.
So that's why the 5-year prison sentence, which, by the way, for issues like illegal money laundering, blackmail, it is quite high, and that is what the court acknowledged. However, here's the thing. This man is 28 plus 5 years. He's going to be 33 when he gets out. So the comments said that, with the 5-year sentence, he will still be kind of quote unquote in his prime.
Yes.
So unless, hopefully the hope is that the prison system does its job of rehabilitation and, turning him into a productive member of society. But then if it doesn't, then what happens? So it really kind of goes in juxtaposition with what the judge said in terms of trying to protect society from this behavior, but 5 years.
Right. So this is what we call predatory lending.
Right.
Great example. And not such a great story, of course.
A textbook example of that. Yes.
Exactly. All right, we're gonna move on. Unhealthy diet culture is rampant online, right? Including things like, there are so many over the years, water only fasting, and then there was a whole thing the Beyonce.
Oh, what was that?
Beyonce. It was the cayenne pepper with lemon water. That was a thing
detox.
for a while. Detoxing,
right. So. Here's the thing. With summer coming, these diet fads are on the rise. And I remember one food diet where you just eat apples for days and days. And these are so popular amongst teenage girls who are really sensitive in terms of their body image, but then they're so exposed to social media and their, self-esteem. When you're a teen and you're raging hormones, any one comment from anyone can really set you down that spiral of, I'm going to starve myself.
And I have issues with people that issue those comments.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Yeah. So according to reports, an 18-year-old girl in Gyeonggi, online, she has been on a 5-day fast with just water and salt.
Just water and
salt. And her goal is, her height, 163 centimeters.
Yes.
Her goal is to get down to 40 kilograms. Which, honestly, and some people have thyroid issues, but generally, if you are past the age of 10, you should weigh more than 40 kilograms.
At that height, too.
At that height, especially.
Right.
And then there's this horrible fat. And I do have concerns, but I do trust that our Morning Wave and Busan listeners are mostly adults. And they have, they can discern, they can make the right judgment. But I hate to be the person to throw that even more out there. There's this fad. It's called 키 빼 몸 120.
What is that?
Which is 키에서 120을 빼면 that should be your 몸무게. So in English,
sorry.
Don't do it.
I did
Don't
the
do the
math.
math. No.
Yeah.
No. That means subtract 120 from your height, and that should be your. It should not, but. According to this, it is what your weight should be. Then I'm down to 30 kilogram range, and then I'm that's hospitalization. That's
just
crazy.
That's like anorexia. Yeah.
And then the thing is, so this is exacerbated because we do live in the age of social media. I have seen this, not watched this entire thing, but seen like clips from this video. This fairly popular social media influencer is on a 물단식, water only fasting.
Okay.
And her goal is to drop down to like 43 kilograms. She's like rail thin to begin with, not making judgment, but that's very unhealthy. And she talks about how dizzy she is and how weak she is, but she like still works out while she's only been drinking water, and that is incredibly unhealthy. But it is done with this tone of kind of promoting it.
Right. No.
Which is not right. And then we also have celebrities saying that during their peak, like idol day, it is especially bad with K-pop idols.
Yes.
Idol days, they would like faint, they would feel dizzy, and they'd have to get hospitalized. But then the thing is, I think if you do have a fairly healthy body image, you see that as being unhealthy. But if you are, unfortunately, and it's mostly teenage girls, in that part of life, you kind of see that as almost a weird bit of advice on what to do.
I get it. I definitely get it. And this has to have like bad health effects, right?
Right. So, I mean, I'm sure, we have doctors in our, our YouTube feed and, as our expert who can share so much more about this, but they share experiences of feeling dizzy, which is unfortunately a sign of anemia.
Yes.
Even with their doctors telling them that they have issues with their thyroid, lymph nodes. And then in long term, if you're a girl, it can affect you, especially in your growing age with your menstrual cycle, bone density, eating disorders. So a wide range of physical and mental issues. So, by the way, though, according to the South Korean National Health Insurance data, the number of, and these are reported treated anorexia or bulimia patients, so eating disorders, increased from 275 in 2018 to 1,875 in 2022.
Right.
And experts do point out these societal expectations or standards on appearance, as well as social media perpetrating this.
But this is so true because I remember the very first time my daughter came home crying. She was in 6th grade. At that point, she was 163 centimeters tall.
She was tall for her age.
Yes, she grew very quickly. And then Ray, and she at that point, from what I remember, I think she weighed like 47 kilograms for that height,
which is like actually
on the thin side.
In my opinion, she's on the thin side.
And then there was a boy in her class that commented on the size of her thighs, and she came home crying, and she said, I'm going to go on a diet, whatever. And I was like, tell me the name of the boy.
Yeah.
We need to go find him right now.
Right.
So I went to the school.
And I mean, it starts at home. And I've been talking about like, our own families. We do make those like offhanded comments, and they do like dissect your body. It's not about just whether you're thin or like you're pretty, not pretty, which is also, it's not a common appearance.
Let's not do that.
It's like forehead size, like your thighs, your arms. I'm like,
Is your face like big? Is it
for
small?
my yearly medical checkup? Like, what is happening? So let's not do that, because what you say just like offhandedly, it affects children and affects other children.
Yes.
And then we have girls, teenagers fasting with water and salt.
Not good.
Yet we're talking about all the food. So like eat,
Please eat healthfully.
So good for you.
All right. Next up, though. It is graduation season, especially in the U.S., and this one father has been causing an uproar, not for good reasons, for what he did during his daughter's graduation, right?
Speaking of like unhealthy family values, perceived suspected racism.
Alleged racism.
Yes.
But you can be the judge, right?
Yeah. The listeners, we have like gifts and, everything. So what happens in, I have actually never been to a Korean graduation, but usually what happens in a U.S. American high school graduation, all the graduates in their cap and gown, they walk on stage one by one. You receive your diploma, or at least it's empty. It's a diploma case.
Yes.
And then you shake hands with the principal, and in some schools, like all the staff, like superintendents, board members, and whatnot. This is what happened at the Barabu High School in Wisconsin. A high school senior, this young woman walks up to stage. Her name is called, and she is about to shake hands with a group of board members. But in a footage that has gone viral, which we will also throw up on our YouTube, her father, Matthew Eddy, he comes on stage.
Oh, you can see it now.
Look at that. He grabs the superintendent of the district, Dr. Rainey Briggs, by his arm and drags him away.
Oh, there we go, right there.
You can see the girl, his daughter, after she realizes what's happened. She is mortified. I mean, that poor girl.
It's the father is in the white
With the
T-shirt with a
cap?
cap, and he's like kind of rushing this guy off.
He is, something happens.
Right.
We should know, because I think this is important. Eddie is white, the father is white, Dr. Briggs is black. And then off camera, you hear the father say, "That's my daughter."
Okay.
So what? And then Briggs saying, "You better get off of me." So there was an altercation.
But look at the daughter's expression.
I feel so bad for the girl. I feel also so bad for Dr. Briggs.
Oh,
who's just,
obviously. That's like number one.
that's kind of,
Right.
that's, if someone gets their hands on you without wanting it, that's like borderline assault.
Yes.
The daughter once again looks mortified. So the school district has filed a disorderly conduct charge against Eddie, and Briggs has filed for a restraining order.
Okay, so we need to know, like, were there racial undertones? Why did he do this? Is
Why
there
do you
something
think
else?
He did this? Well, police reports say officially that Eddie told officers that he had past issues with Briggs and dislikes him and wanted to prevent Briggs from having the satisfaction of shaking his daughter's hand. But we don't know what the past issue was.
Okay.
So the police report did not mention that this was racially charged. Many people, including local community groups, pointed out that it appears this way. Also, Briggs happens to be the only person of color in that entire lineup, at least from what we can see.
Right.
And also the initial local reports, they did rightfully, focus on how sorry they feel for the girl whose graduation was ruined. But a lot of the reports did not focus on the man, Briggs' welfare at all.
Like, how did
He's
he
the
feel?
one who was literally manhandled.
Right.
Also, this school, by the way, back in 2018, it also made national news for this group of students from the junior prom. What appears to be a Nazi salute.
Oh, is it? This is that school?
It's that school.
It's that school.
Yeah. So the photographer back then explained that he just had the students wave to the parents, but there's a difference between waving, even if someone's far away. I have never waved with my elbows extended.
No.
So that
with
usually
like stiff,
never happens.
And that Heil,
It was
salute.
a Heil.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the school.
That school.
That
puts things into perspective. All right. For a positive story, we need a positive story.
Humanity is terrible.
This everyday hero who prevented a huge accident. Oh my goodness.
Right. And emphasis on hero, because I don't know if I would have been able to do this or have the physical ability to do this. So Mr. Lee Hee-sung in Gwangju, he literally stopped a pickup truck that was barreling down a hill. So this incident actually happened back in April, but it's coming to light now.
Okay.
So this man was on a break from work when he saw a 1-ton pickup truck just rolling down a hill in front of him with no driver inside.
We have the
he was
visual on
like,
YouTube channel.
What
right now.
happened? And then it also crashed into a parked car but kept going. And then I think if you look really carefully to the right side of the pickup truck, you can see the driver, who was apparently an older man, running along the truck trying to stop it. But because he was on the passenger side, there wasn't much he could do.
Right.
So he dashed to the truck, opened the driver's seat door, jumped in, and stopped the car. This is once again, I mean, it's on a hill. It's barreling down. And he actually did get hurt. He hurt his ankle. He fractured his ankle in the process of getting into the truck.
Right.
And the police said that and you can kind of see it, it's in a downtown-ish residential area and it has a lot of private academies, 학원. So there are a lot of academy buses, so it could have been disastrous if kids had been coming out. Turns out the driver didn't put on the parking brakes when he parked the car. So he has been awarded by the police, and he said his body just moved. He just lunged forward without any thought that anyone would have done it.
I don't know about the anyone part.
I don't know if I have the heart to jump, into a barreling truck.
Just the wherewithal and the instincts. I don't know if I have those.
Also, I don't know how to drive a stick. So there's the physical, the literal, I don't know where the brakes are in that truck.
Right.
Yeah.
So real quick, we need to remind our listeners.
We do.
About the importance of parking brakes.
Yeah. So there's actually been a series of accidents, especially with large trucks without the side brakes or parking brakes on, rolling downhill.
Yes.
A minibus in Cheongju last year rolled 10 meters downhill, crashed into some loudspeaker. Same thing with a cargo truck in Busan last March. So the thing about these large vehicles is with their heavy cargo, it can actually kind of undo the brakes if your truck is heavy enough or it's over the maximum weight. So it is important for these vehicles to be parked on a flat road, not on a hill. But if you do have to, definitely, put your parking brakes on. Also, we do learn this in driver's ed. Turn your steering wheel so the tires would be going into the curb of the sidewalk. So if something does happen, you are not barreling down the hill. So if you're parked like on a downhill, turn your tires to the right. If you're parked on an uphill, turn your tires to the left. So anyway, you're hitting the curb. And also for larger trucks, put like a stopper, like a brick or a piece of wood or something, blocks behind the tires. So safety first.
All right. Well, thanks for going over all the hot issues. We'll check in with you tomorrow. Thank you, Haley.
See you tomorrow.
And with that, it is time for your updated traffic and weather. It's now 8:23. This is your traffic and weather update. A bus has broken down on 중앙대로 from Yangjong intersection to Songgong three-way intersection. It's right near the Songgong intersection. Also, it's looking slow on Panjungno from the old Panyo tollgate to Suyang Tunnel. Traffic is building on Yeonsuro from Suyong intersection to Mangmi intersection. There's also congestion on the Dongso overpass from Hakjang ramp to the old Kaegeum tollgate. It is already 23 degrees today here in Busan. It's going to go up to 31 for another hot one. And there are special heat wave reports issued for Daegu, parts of Gyeongbuk, Ulsan, and parts of Gyeongnam. So please be aware if you are in these areas. This was your traffic and weather. And this is Juliet by LMNT.
Hey, I've been watching you, every little thing you do. Every time I see you pass in my homeroom class, makes my heart beat fast. I've tried to page you twice, but I see you roll your eyes. Wish I could make it real, but your lips are sealed, that ain't no big deal. Cause I know you really want me. I hear your friends talk about me. So why you trying to do without me? When you got me, when you want me. I think you're fine, you really blow my mind. Maybe someday you and me can run away. I just want you to know I wanna be your Romeo. Hey Juliet, hey Juliet, hey Juliet. Girl, you got me on my knees, begging please, baby please. Got my best DJ on the radio wave saying, Juliet, what are you doing between? Too far to turn around, so I wanna stand my ground. Give me just a little bit of hope and a smile or a glance, give me one more chance. Cause I know you really want me. I hear your friends talk about me. So why you trying to do without me? When you got me, when you want me. Hey Juliet, I think you're fine, you really blow my mind. Maybe someday you and me can run away. I just want you to know I wanna be your Romeo. Hey Juliet, hey Juliet, hey Juliet.
This is our special interview. So, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi was officially elected as the leader of the National Democratic Alliance, or NDA coalition, which won the most seats in the recent national election. However, contrary to Modi's expectations, his party, the BJP, fell short of securing a majority of the seats, showing a setback in support for the longtime prime minister. So he was sworn in as prime minister on Sunday for an unprecedented third term, but it does seem to signal the results. They seem to signal a shift in Indian politics. So how will Modi navigate these new waters and what's to come in the future? Let's take a closer look with Dr. Irfan Nooruddin, who is a professor of Indian politics in the School of Foreign Service and Department of Government at Georgetown University. Let's say hi to him. Hi, Professor. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, given Narendra Modi's need to form a coalition government for, I believe, the first time, how do you anticipate his governance style? Like, how might it change from his previous two terms where he had a clear majority?
Well, some parts will change, but before we do that, you mentioned in your intro that Prime Minister Modi was elected for an unprecedented third time. That's not actually correct. Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru won 3 straight majorities, and Indira Gandhi was also elected 3 times. But it is true that Prime Minister Modi, by being sworn in for his third term, equals those 2 individuals' records.
I see.
But as you point out, this is a coalition which he's not had to govern before, and he didn't have to do that either when he was chief minister for 12 years prior to that of the Indian state of Gujarat. I think most expectations are that Mr. Modi is who he's always been. He's not somebody who's used to building consensus. He's not a fan of deliberation. He tends to run government really from his office, in this case, the Prime Minister's office, even neglecting his own ministers to a large extent. And so the coalition politics is going to be very new. And I think the main constraint over there is that those coalition partners are going to expect certain access to the halls of power. Their ministers are going to want to have some portfolios. They're not going to want to kowtow and defer to the prime minister's will. So I expect there'll be a lot more jockeying for influence within the government. And then there's a little bit question of the prime minister's party, the Hindu nationalist Bharatiya Janata Party, makes very clear that part of its agenda was social transformation, to really keep pushing India towards becoming their vision of a Hindu state. But some of the coalition partners that he now has to deal with don't share that philosophy. They're much more interested in economic development and, in fact, are much more dependent than Mr. Modi is on minority groups, Muslims, lower caste Hindus, for votes. And so I expect that they will temper and ameliorate some of the worst excesses of the BJP. So all in all, we're in for a pretty new phase of Indian politics in this next couple of years, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
And I'm very curious, Professor, as to, as it seems on the surface, that maybe his popularity compared to his first or second term has gone down, it does seem. Would you agree with that? And maybe if so, can you explain why?
Certainly. I mean, in North India, which has really been the main base of the party, the BJP did quite poorly, including in places where the prime minister really did some pretty aggressive campaigning. So at the macro level, the BJP lost 63 seats out of the 303 that they were defending in this election. That was 20%, slightly over 20% of their parliamentary seats. That's a big loss by any stretch of the imagination, and far more than they were expecting. Going into the election, they were talking about possibly extending their majority to 350, maybe even 400 seats. So this is quite a reversal. And anecdotally, in January, the BJP and Mr. Modi inaugurated a massive new temple in honor of the Indian deity Lord Ram on the site of a historic mosque that had been destroyed about 30 some years ago by Hindu nationalist activists. They did this to great fanfare in a district called Ayodhya. And it was seen as sort of the culmination of this Hindu nationalist agenda of Prime Minister Modi. And the BJP lost that seat. So even in the seat where they had the most high-profile success of their movement, they seem to have lost. So what happened? I think the simple answer is that the opposition did a much better job of coordinating. And so instead of splitting the vote, the non-BJP vote, by competing against each other, they did a lot of seat sharing and consolidated the anti-BJP opposition vote. The BJP won only 37% of the national vote. So even though they won 240 seats, they just won 37% of the votes, which suggests to me that coordination of the opposition was very successful. On a substantive level, the opposition did a really good job of focusing voters on social justice issues and the sense that while India's economy might be growing at the overall level, it has really been to the benefit of the richest Indians, upper middle class Indians, and that poor people, which still form the majority of the country, have largely been left behind to lead lives that are quite challenging and difficult, and especially in a world where the inequality between rich and poor is so visible and is growing every day.
Indeed. Thanks for thoroughly explaining the answer to that question. So can we also talk about India's economy right now, facing issues such as high unemployment, of course, inflation affecting the world, but also India, and inequality, which you did touch upon, Professor. How might this coalition government address some of these vulnerabilities, maybe differently than in his previous administrations?
I think the main focus of the coalition is going to be job creation. Our coalition partners in particular are going to be less sympathetic to market reforms of the kind that the BJP might have pushed had it had a majority. And look, at the end of the day, India needs to have some pretty significant reforms if it is going to do more manufacturing so that it can compete with China, Vietnam, Korea, for the higher end manufacturing that East Asian economies in particular have been very successful at being tremendously good at and capturing big parts of the global supply chain. India needs to have a bigger share of that in order to absorb the large numbers of young people seeking good paying jobs. But all of that comes at the cost of maybe thinking seriously about how do we deal with the fact that there's all these millions of young people who are coming from rural backgrounds. They have some education, but they don't have the skill set to really be competitive at those technical kind of jobs. And so I think the new government is going to focus on jobs. I suspect you'll see a focus on training and skilling of young populations. I do think you'll see some policies that really focus on supporting domestic manufacturing, while at the same time continuing the push to attract foreign investment.
When we look at Modi's experience thus far, and maybe not such and not so experienced in coalition politics, do you think this will impact his ability to, for example, negotiate or to maintain a stable government, to basically lead? What are your thoughts on this?
I think the biggest challenge is going to be on large global economic agreements. Mr. Modi's government in the last administration was pushing very hard for signing free trade agreements in particular. I think those are going to be more challenging to get through a coalition government, especially when some of the parties might have more protectionist tendencies. I do think you're going to see much less emphasis on social issues that are much more divisive, because I don't think Mr. Modi is going to be able to build coalition consensus for a lot of those things. But I think on a lot of the bread and butter issues, just continuing to reform large parts of India's bureaucracy, making it easier for startup businesses to get going, making it easier for banks to lend money, especially to those people who have been largely kept out of the financial sector. I suspect there'll be a lot more consensus. So one hopes that the government sees this election result as a little bit of a message from voters saying, focus on the issues that are important on us, stop indulging in the more divisive, anti-minority rhetoric that you guys have been doing. And if they do that, I think they're going to put themselves and India in good shape going forward. But if they don't, the government will fall. And, that would be unfortunate because it would bring a lot of uncertainty to the economy.
I see. Well, for our final wrap-up question today, Professor, how do you expect Modi's position to affect India's foreign policies, particularly its relationship with countries like the United States, China even? What do you think about this one?
Foreign policy largely doesn't tend to be a big domestic political issue. So on the one hand, I would expect that means that the government still can pursue whatever agenda it sees as most important to it without getting a lot of pushback. But I think you will see more pressure from the opposition that really is now much more empowered to begin to ask challenging questions about what is India's strategy vis-a-vis China. There's been this long-standing conflict in the northeast of India that has involved Indian soldiers being killed in firefights with the Chinese. The government has chosen to be very quiet about that, but I think they're going to have a harder time avoiding parliamentary debate when you have a resurgent opposition. Just on Sunday, while Prime Minister Modi was being inaugurated, there was a terrorist attack in the Indian state of Jammu where 20-some pilgrims going to a religious site were killed. That's going to put a lot more pressure on the government to answer questions about what it's doing vis-a-vis Pakistan. So I don't think it's that the coalition is going to be a challenge, but I do think that the opposition, now having had this big success, is going to feel much more empowered to ask difficult questions of the government in the coming years.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for coming on air with us and answering our questions. Thank you so much, Professor.
Anytime. Have a lovely day.
You too. This was Professor Irfan Nooruddin, and we talked about Narendra Modi winning his third term as Prime Minister. Doesn't have a majority, so he is going to have to form a coalition government. And so we'll see how this goes, because as we've talked about previously, being the most populous country in the world right now, definitely a superpower. We'll see what effects this election will have on the rest of the world. And I'll be back with Bonnie in just a moment.
Get your local up-to-date news from Korea and abroad right here on Morning Wave in Busan with Catherine. Stay tuned.
It is now time for Bonnie and the Health. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, we have a fun one for you before we dive into our topic. Favorite summer treats. What can you not live without?
I feel like this is the obvious one. Watermelon.
Yeah, I mean, so many people have chimed in. Watermelon. Anything else?
And like really ice cold watermelon.
Just ice cold anything, right?
Yeah, I like putting all my fruit actually in the freezer.
In the freezer?
Like cut up pineapple, cut
okay.
up watermelon, and putting them in the freezer in like little bits, and then I use that as ice cubes.
That's an idea.
Yeah, to make my like water fruity or juice.
I'm going to try that. That's a good one. All right. Well, we are ready to dive into the health. So what are we talking about today?
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about rest. Getting rest. So you might think rest, sleep, we need to sleep. But did you know there's actually 7 different kinds of rest that we need? We are complex human. Yes. We are
All
complex
I know is
human beings.
Sleeping and like vegging. Are there others?
Yes. So actually 8 because I added one of my own at the end.
Okay.
But they're all 7 different kinds because, we're complex human beings. We have so many different things that we do in life and so many different aspects of our life. So there are different avenues that we need to take to actually rest our whole body, our mental state, our spiritual state, our physical state.
Okay.
So it's not just about sleep. Sometimes you can get a full 8 or 9 hours of sleep and still feel tired, maybe still feel exhausted in your life. Well, maybe you're not getting rest fully in all aspects of your life.
Yes.
So it's really imperative, especially if you want to live a long, healthy, and happy life, to experience these different kinds of rest, maybe every week, maybe even every day. You need to check in with yourself.
Yes.
So I'm going to go over these 7 types, and
Sure.
you can think to yourself if you get this kind of rest.
Okay, so quiz yourself.
Yeah.
Here we go.
So the first type of rest obviously is physical. This is the one that we think of the most. But physical is divided actually into 2 different kinds of rest.
Okay.
So we have active and we have passive. So the active kind of rest is maybe doing something that's restorative to your body and mind. So maybe yoga, maybe stretching, getting a nice massage.
Oh, that sounds so good.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you're physically still moving or doing something to your body, but you're awake. Now, passive is what we think of when we think of rest, sleep, just high quality sleep as well. So we've gone over this on the show as well. You know, not just getting the hours are important, but also the environment that you're getting your sleep in.
Yes.
In a dark environment, in a quiet environment. So not waking up a lot. Those are all aspects of getting a really good night's passive, restful sleep. The second kind of rest is mental rest.
Okay.
Something that we all need. So this is time to just slow the racing mind. You know,
sometimes it's so tough.
This is actually sometimes the hardest thing to do, right? Is not thinking about anything, not doing anything. This might be the hardest for people to actually get or make time to do. But it's just quiet time for yourself. And this can be done through meditation, maybe even through journaling, talking to friends, zoning out. I know we have a special contest for this now here in Korea. But practicing just quieting the mind. So
I think this is my biggest challenge.
Yes, a lot of people, because we're always thinking about the next thing to do.
Exactly.
Or maybe you're thinking about past things that you've done, but you're still thinking. The mind is still active and racing and thinking about all these things.
That's true. Reflecting on what you did for the day, or oh, maybe I should have done this way, or said this instead.
Yeah. And that's tiring on your mind.
It is.
So just like your body physically moving, if your mind is racing like that, you're thinking your mind is like exercising and doing something as well.
True.
So your mind needs rest from that. So even journaling, you know, because you're focusing on one thing. You're just focusing on the words that you're writing.
Okay.
And so that can be restful for your mind as well.
You know what I like about journaling? It's like half cursive, half print.
Yeah.
But, you know, like they don't do cursive writing, I hear, like in the States anymore. But like, I when I start writing or journaling, like I look at my, like I'll also focus like on my writing, my penmanship.
Yeah.
And I think like, oh, that's kind of pretty today. So absent-minded.
Or you might
so
try
random.
a different thing out.
Right. Or today I'm going to do print, all capital. Or like,
and they
so
have
simple,
all
but
these different kinds of journals now that are not just, you know, not just the writing, but they have journals that you can, you know, color code, add your own stickers.
Sure.
You can do, I've seen some really cool ones where you're like making a grid out of it.
Grid?
Like, yeah, like you check off these things that you've done and you color it in into these different blocks and stuff. So there's all these different kinds of journaling that you can do too. So you can pick, you know, what you like the best, your own style, and what fits with your life. Okay, the third kind of rest, emotional rest.
Emotional rest.
Yes. So this is just being able to be in a calm state where you're not having to kind of turn yourself on for people. So being in a truly authentic and real state with yourself. So, you know, sometimes you're in a group or even with your family, you are kind of in a certain role playing. So whether it be your job or maybe certain friends even, you feel like you have to kind of please them or turn yourself on, like I say, to
that's so true.
Act happy
right.
to act a certain way in order to fit the demographic that you're around. So taking yourself out of that, emotional rest is just being completely yourself, being able to be talkative, but talkative with the things that you really want to talk about, not the things that you think other people want you to say.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
So this is really important. And I say you can be doing this, talking to close relatives, friends, even a therapist. This is really great because you can be completely open with them. There's no judgment around. You're not scared of people, you know, taking what you say too personally or anything like that. You don't have to put on all those different
hats, right?
Yeah. So this is a really important one, the emotional rest, because you can feel emotional fatigue even with people that are close to you, like your family. You still feel like maybe you have to be happy or you have to act a certain way in front of your kids. You have to, you know, show a certain face in front of them to be strong or whatever
supportive
it may be.
at all costs. Sometimes biting my tongue, literally, till it bleeds. Like, Can't say that. I'm thinking it.
Yeah.
But I can't say it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that takes a toll on you. So emotional rest, really important.
Okay.
If you have to do this, find people that you can practice this with. And if it's really difficult, I mean, therapists are always a really, really good source to get this rest from. Okay, next one. Sensory rest.
Sensory rest.
And this is something I feel like is even harder nowadays because we are around devices all the time.
Oh, yeah.
But sensory rest is taking your time away from these devices. So your phones, tablets, computers, TV, even bright lights.
Yes.
These do take a toll on you and your body mentally and physically. So taking time away from those things. So you can do this in nature. This is the best source. Kind of putting yourself in a calming state outside in a forest, maybe next to the ocean. Or you can even, if you're in your house, you can't get outside into nature, just put on some calming music, or you can even put on nature sounds and just kind of close your eyes so you're not getting sensory overload.
Yes. All right. So we did physical rest, mental rest, emotional rest, and sensory rest. What's our next one?
Next one, social rest.
Social rest.
So if you're a social person, you know, it's like me. I like to be out. I like to be around people. But sometimes it's tiring. It takes a toll on you. So it's important to take time away from other people, maybe just for yourself. And especially people, like I said before, that you feel like you have to please. So this actually means maybe reevaluating the people that you're spending your time with and who you're spending the most time with. And considering which ones are genuinely supportive, which ones, after you spend time with them, you walk away and you kind of feel energized or happy.
Do you feel uplifted or do you feel like, oh?
Yeah, exactly. Because some people,
that was a waste of time.
You might meet and at the end you're tired. Oh, okay. Oh my God. I'm glad that's
there
over.
are
I'm glad that interaction
people.
is over. I call them energy vampires.
Right.
Like, they suck the energy from you rather than giving it back to you. So reevaluate and spend more time with people that are giving you energy instead of taking it from you.
All right.
Okay, the next one is creative rest.
Creative.
So this one's doing something, maybe doing a hobby that you really enjoy, but doing something creatively for yourself, by yourself.
Right.
So this can be, for example, something like art, sculpting, playing an instrument, maybe creating a craft or a DIY project that you like. So even just doodling, or even they had those adult coloring books that came out a
I
while
know
ago.
people make fun of adults that do this. I like coloring.
Oh, it's so good though.
Even like Tommy mentioned, he hates writing. I don't know if you can catch this on YouTube. Like it's in red, so I don't think you can catch it. Like all throughout the program, like it's not just for like the special interview. I'm a writer. I just doodle, write, take notes.
Doodling is so great.
That's just
You're
me.
just letting your mind and your pencil go and not caring what it really looks like, not caring about the end result. That's not
I
the
draw
point
sometimes
of it. That's really great. You've been creatively resting this whole time.
This whole time. It's like drawing and arrows.
Good for you.
Yes. What else do we have?
Okay, so the next one is spiritual rest.
Okay.
Spiritual rest. This is actually being a part of some sort of bigger group that is maybe faith-based or community-based.
Yes.
So this is about feeling a sense of purpose, feeling like you're a part of something bigger.
Sure.
And this gives you kind of like the meaning of life, like you're trying to find the meaning of life sort of thing.
So deep.
Yeah.
Yes.
But many people experience burnout or exhaustion because they're kind of going through day-to-day life, just working and trying to get a paycheck.
Sure,
right?
sure.
And not really focusing on the bigger meaning. Why am I doing all of this? But if you're only working to get the money, to get the paycheck, your purpose is very limited.
Sure.
And narrow.
Right.
So sometimes that's when you get the burnout. That's when you get really, really tired, or that's when you kind of feel like, oh, you know, there's no purpose in all of this.
Right.
So being a part of a bigger group, whether it's faith-based or not, but just a big community where there is a bigger purpose than just your day-to-day work life, that's really important as well. That's going to give you that spiritual boost, a different kind of faith, and really give you a sense of purpose.
That's so important. But you mentioned in the beginning there were 7, but you said you added one.
I added one of my
What's
own.
the last one? What is this?
So this last one is work rest. And this is actually taking rest from work, because there are a lot of statistics that keep coming out about people not taking their paid vacation days. Like, you actually have the vacation days, but you don't take them. In Korea, a while ago, this is an old survey, but actually came out as the people that take the least amount of their paid vacation days.
Yes,
Koreans came out with that. So
Not surprising.
Yeah, and these are, like I said, paid vacation days. You have them, but you didn't take them.
Sure.
So it's not like, oh, we just didn't take a vacation because we didn't have time or we didn't have money and we can't take the time off work. No, you people had the time. They just chose not to take it. So I think this is really important as well, to kind of take a vacation and not thinking about work, not having to think about
so
your
hard, though, to go on
obligations,
vacation.
your responsibilities. And some people, when they go on vacation, they still think about work. They still have their phone on. They still check their
that's true.
emails. They're still, inundated in some way in work. So really trying to unplug from that and really separate yourself from those obligations that you have. This is really difficult for some people. For some people, it's really easy. I have no problem doing this.
For me, it's so difficult. Like, even this, my producer asked, oh, so when are you taking your vacation? I'm like, I don't know. I might not take one this summer. I don't know, but I guess I should.
Yes, you should. And just, it's mentally and just physically, I think it's really healthy to get in the rhythm of doing that, because sometimes we just get used to the rhythm of going to work all the time and having to think about all these things. So actually getting into the rhythm of taking a vacation, that's also really important.
Okay. I'm really going to try this year to take a vacation.
Yes.
I will. Well, we're going to call it a wrap for today, but thank you for going over all the different kinds of rest, things that we probably some things we knew, but things that we kind of didn't think about, like compartment, like putting it into different compartments.
Yes.
All
we
the
need
different
all
types
of them.
of rest. Yes.
We need all of them.
All right. Well, we look forward to next week as well. So thank you so much, Bonnie.
Thank you. Have a good day.
All right, everybody. This was Bonnie with The Health. It is time to wrap things up for today. A beautiful Tuesday. It's going to go up to 31, so be prepared for that. How's this for our final song, 밥만 잘 먹더라 by 옴무. So enjoy. Have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye.
당분간은 일만 하자 죽을 만큼 사랑한 그녀를 알았단 그 사실에 감사하자 이미 지난 일 말하면 뭐해 돌릴 수 없는데 괜히 아픈 가슴만 다시 들춰내서 뭐해 쓸데없게 태어나서 딱 3번만 울게 허락된다는데 괜히 허튼 일들에 아까운 눈물 낭비 말자 사랑이 떠나가도 가슴에 멍이 들어도 한순간뿐이더라 밥만 잘 먹더라 죽는 것도 아니더라 눈물은 묻어둬라 당분간은 일만 하자 죽을 만큼 사랑한 그녀를 알았단 그 사실에 감사하자 아주 가끔 네 생각이 나서 슬퍼지려 하면 친구들과 술 한잔 정신없이 취하련다 다 잊게 미워한다고 너